Welcome to the AI for Technical Writers podcast. This is episode 105. I'm Fred.
And I'm Daphne.
Today we're opening up the hood on a tool really designed to tackle probably the biggest headache for technical pros. Just the sheer volume of information. Knowledge overload.
That's right. We're focusing squarely on Google's NotebookLM. It's an AI-powered assistant for research and writing. So if you're a technical writer, a documentation specialist, maybe an IT professional, and you feel like you're constantly buried under just huge, sprawling knowledge bases, this conversation is definitely for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should give a shout out to our show's producer, senior technical writer, Curt Robbins. He actually suggested this topic, and he's also the author of the main source we're looking at today.
Oh, okay.
It's an article called Tool Review, Google's NotebookLM. It was published on LinkedIn, October 16, 2025.
Okay, great. So our goal here is really to pull out the key takeaways from that review. We want to figure out what exactly makes NotebookLM different from, a general large language model, and more importantly, how its specific features can give you real, tangible benefits day to day when you're wrestling with complex specs or system logs or those lovely compliance docs.
Okay, let's start with that core idea then. The review really emphasizes its source-grounded nature as its fundamental strength. What does that actually mean for someone, say, drafting a procedure manual?
It's really the critical difference, Fred. It's what separates a useful research assistant from, well, sometimes a very confident liar. Unlike your standard chatbot that pulls answers from the whole internet, which is vast and often contradictory, NotebookLM works only within the documents you upload.
Oh, okay.
So if you feed it 50 PDF specifications, its answers, its reasoning, it's all based only on those 50 documents, nothing else.
Right. And that immediately tackles the biggest fear, I think, for technical writers using AI, the hallucinations, the made-up stuff.
Precisely. Because it is source-grounded, that risk of the AI just inventing facts when it doesn't know the answer, it's drastically reduced. And the really game-changing part is that NotebookLM doesn't just give you an answer. It gives you the proof.
Receipts.
Exactly. Every insight, every summary it generates comes with an immediate inline citation. It links you right back to the specific line or passage in the document you uploaded.
Wow. Okay, think about audit time. That's huge. Forget peace of mind for a second. Just the hours saved during verification. If you're responsible for keeping docs accurate in, say, a regulated field, having that instant citable link, you're spending minutes verifying, not hours digging through archives. That's massive time leverage.
And that leads right into its synthesis power. This is where it shifts your role, from being just an archivist, someone who knows where stuff is filed, to being a higher level analyst. It takes this unmanageable pile of different documents, design specs, meeting notes, code comments, whatever, and turns it into digestible, citable analysis.
Can you give a concrete example? What could I ask it that a human just couldn't do quickly?
Okay, imagine uploading, say, 10 years of system logs, all the internal emails about architecture changes, and every meeting transcript from the last 6 months.
Okay, a lot of data.
A ton. Then you ask NotebookLM something high level, like what were the 3 main design choices between 2018 and 2022 that contributed to our current system bottleneck? It won't just guess. It'll generate an answer by cross-referencing information scattered across maybe dozens of those documents. And crucially, it cites, here's the specific design doc from 2019, here's the email thread from 2020, and look, here's the log entry from last week that supports this conclusion.
That is powerful,
Yeah.
It makes all that hidden institutional knowledge suddenly usable, actionable.
Exactly. And it's that ability to centralize and process info that usually lives in totally separate silos. That's what's fascinating. It takes that massive unstructured knowledge base and makes it manageable. Teams can share complex analysis with execs or new hires super quickly.
Okay, now here's something the review highlighted that sounds really 21st century, the audio overview feature. This sounds unique.
Yes. This is the one designed to leverage, otherwise dead time. NotebookLM can give you an audio summary of your uploaded documents, but it's not just a robotic text-to-speech voice reading it out.
Right. The review mentioned Google actually created 2 virtual podcast hosts, and they sound incredibly realistic. Curt's review used the phrase almost creepy.
Yeah, the uncanny valley thing is definitely noticeable, but the idea behind it is really smart time management. Think about the typical day for our listeners: doc specialists, tech leads, IT pros. You often have long commutes. Maybe you try to squeeze in a workout.
Right.
The audio overview lets you listen to a synthesized discussion summarizing complex documents while you're driving or on the treadmill. You can catch up on critical work knowledge when reading is just impossible or unsafe.
Turn your run into research time. That's pretty cool. And beyond the audio, the tool seems like a big accelerator for just generating content structures, too.
Oh, yeah. If you need to build training materials or maybe an executive summary for a big project, it can instantly generate useful starting points. Things like FAQs, study guides, timelines, quick briefing docs.
So it gives you a template, basically.
Exactly. It doesn't just save time writing, it helps ensure you have a consistent structure across different projects, too.
And getting information in sounds flexible.
Very. That's key for adoption, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be easy. It takes PDFs, Google Docs, website URLs, even transcripts directly from YouTube videos. Pretty much any common format you'd have institutional knowledge in.
Okay, that covers a lot of ground on the benefits. Let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Curt Robbins.
Hi, this is Curt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the AI for Technical Writers podcast.
All right, so we've talked about the high points of NotebookLM, the accuracy from being source grounded, the synthesis power, that unique audio feature. But now we need to pivot and look at the limitations, the caveats that Curt Robbins flagged in his review. Because, no tool is a magic wand.
Right. Let's start with what the review called the biggest operational hurdle: segmentation pain. We know it's source-grounded within a notebook, but what if your company's documentation covers thousands of interconnected documents? How does that work, or doesn't work?
Yeah, this is a major structural constraint right now. Each notebook you create in the tool is totally isolated. It's like its own little world. Cross-notebook referencing, it's just not possible currently. So if you're managing a truly massive knowledge base, think hundreds of gigabytes spanning HR policies, system architecture, compliance rules, you have to be really careful about how you divide things up. You can't just ask one question that needs to check something in the HR notebook and the IT operations notebook at the same time. That isolation definitely limits broad system-wide analysis.
Okay, that's a pretty significant workflow thing to consider, especially for large organizations. The initial setup and organization have to be super deliberate.
Absolutely. And another constraint is output maturity. While the output is fantastic for analysis and drafting, getting ideas down, it's rarely a finished, publishable document straight out of the box.
Yeah.
Meaning it lacks the sophisticated formatting, the layout options, the document creation features you need for that final stage technical publishing. It generates brilliant text, really useful summaries and answers, but you still need your proper content management system or other publishing tools to actually finish the job and make it look right. It's a great starting point, not the final deliverable.
Wait a minute, if the whole system relies only on the sources I upload, doesn't that create its own problem?
Right.
Like, you can't bring in outside context or correct my sources if they're flawed. Which brings us back to that old classic, garbage in, garbage out.
That is exactly the critical thinking needed here, yes. We absolutely have to hammer home that GI Go principle. The AI's answers are only ever going to be as good, as accurate as the documents you feed it. If your source material itself is poorly written or vague, or maybe even has contradictions, which, let's be honest, happens all the time in big old corporate knowledge bases way, then the AI's output will reflect that. It'll be less accurate, maybe less insightful. It's synthesizing your information, warts and all.
Okay. And finally, the review mentioned integration hurdles.
Right. As a Google tool, its ability to play nicely with non-Google enterprise systems is, well, limited at the moment. If your whole workflow revolves around Salesforce for customer data or Jira for project tracking or maybe some complex dedicated CMS, you're basically looking at manual export and import. You have to pull documents out of those systems and feed them into NotebookLM, then maybe take the output back manually. That friction, that manual step, it can really slow down the whole end-to-end documentation process. It's something many big companies try hard to avoid.
Got it. So some definite limitations to be aware of. But despite those, the usefulness still seems to vary quite a bit, depending on who you are, right? Let's break that down.
Yeah.
How does this help specific groups? Maybe start with the big guys, large enterprises.
Yeah, for large enterprises, the big appeal seems to be around knowledge centralization and compliance. High compliance fidelity. The enterprise version offers serious security features like VPC-SC, that's Virtual Private Cloud Service Controls. Essential stuff when you're dealing with sensitive internal data.
Right, keep the data locked down.
Exactly. It gives them the necessary capacity and control for handling huge amounts of confidential information. So IT departments can upload, decades of incident reports, architectural diagrams, code specs, and instantly turn that archive into something searchable, citable, and auditable.
Which is critical for things like onboarding new staff quickly, or diagnosing big system problems by finding patterns in past failures.
And just maintaining that single verifiable source of truth across huge, often siloed teams, especially for compliance.
Okay, now what about the other end of the scale? Small companies, startups.
For them, it's all about resource efficiency. Pure and simple. Small teams often just don't have the budget for dedicated research staff or complex knowledge management systems. NotebookLM can act like an inexpensive, tireless research assistant. A tech manager could upload a bunch of competitive analysis reports or complex product requirements and boom, get instant consolidated summaries.
It really sounds like a force multiplier for those lean teams.
It absolutely is. It helps them make data-driven decisions faster. And it frees up their tech writers or developers from hours of tedious manual document review, letting them focus on actually building the product instead of digging through archives.
Okay, one more group. Individual consultants or freelancers. The review suggested this might be where the edge is sharpest.
Yeah, I think so, because it ties directly into getting started on new projects and engaging with clients. Think about it. A consultant lands a new gig, and they immediately get this massive dump of client documents, manuals, reports, specs. They need to become an expert like yesterday to be effective.
The classic ramp-up challenge.
Exactly. NotebookLM can drastically shrink that ramp-up time. That freelancer can now load up the client docs, quickly query the information, generate summaries, even draft proposals that use the client's own internal language and concepts because it's all drawn from their documents.
Wow, yeah. Imagine walking into a new client meeting on day 3 and sounding like you deeply understand their internal world, maybe even better than some of their own people.
That's an immediate, undeniable competitive advantage.
So the core value seems pretty clear then.
I think so. This tool basically gives individuals and smaller teams a level of analytical power, of knowledge management capability, that used to be reserved for big companies with specialized departments and big budgets. It can seriously accelerate their expertise and output.
By using a source-grounded system like this, it seems technical professionals can really speed up their work and shift their focus from just finding information to actually analyzing it.
Absolutely.
It feels like something you really need to consider if you're feeling overwhelmed by the sheer amount of data you have to manage daily.
Definitely. The time savings, plus that guaranteed link back to the source for accuracy, it just means less time searching, more time analyzing, and writing really solid, high-impact content.
Thank you for listening to the AI for Technical Writers podcast, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next week.